veterans look at when they go into the VA and they're talking about stuff. It's not always loud explosions and bad nightmares. Now, everybody's going to have bad nightmares, and you're going to have loud explosions. I have friends that it severely bothers them. It doesn't bother me. Even with nightmares, there's not been a significant change from even when I had just the regular nightmares from being a child to even now. There's those times where things that if you've been through anything from a car accident to anything, you've already experienced post-traumatic stress disorder. You've already seen it. I talk to a lot of firefighters and they say, you know, why is it prevalent in just the field of the military? And I ask them, how many fires have you been to? And how many times have you seen everyone's livelihoods burnt to the ground? I said, well, I see a lot. You've seen it after 2 or 3 times, you kind of get desensitized to it, don't you? They said, yeah, you get used to it. You have PTSD. That's what it is. It's getting desensitized to something. It's having those changes that aren't normal. Because not everybody sees people's houses burning to the ground. That's not normal. So it's not something that just affects the military community. But at the college, the day I went up there, they scheduled me a week prior to go to counseling. I did not want to go. I had a new diagnosis and I didn't really want to talk about it. I didn't feel that the school could really help me out much with it. Since then I learned that I actually should have gone, or it could have been helpful. But when I went there, they had a female counselor that was wearing a hijab. And I couldn't talk to her because of it. The symbology, it bothers me. And I've seen, and I have no problem with what they consider later, well, if she's female or if she's Arab. I have no problem with female or Arab or anything like that. But when you have a theocracy or you have something like that thrown at you that you don't agree with, how are you going to sit in an office and tell them about your issues, what's on your mind? That's not something that anybody should be forced into doing. It doesn't matter if they're veteran or not. I went there for disability issues. That's what it should have been seen for, not just thrown in with a random counselor. So I didn't do anything there. I think our meeting lasted about 1 minute. I was back in my office. I told her what I needed was my letters, same as last semester, but I didn't get to do the update that I was strongly actually needing. She said fine. When she did actually open my folder and see what I was there for, I could see that she changed her demeanor and was actually kind of scared to be in the room. So they threw her under the bus as well. And that's not fair on her. She's there for a graduate program, and it's not fair for the people over her to say, well, you're going to go in there and have fun with this guy. And that made me be out of the dirt, and that makes her to be out of the dirt, and it tries to distance the school from what they did. They're the one that caused this problem. So the next day I went to security, and I talked to security about the issue, and I said that you know, I'm concerned about some of the veterans on campus. Some of them are pretty wiretight. They are going to go over there. They're probably going to have an issue with this. You might not have a straight off fist fight, but you're going to have some that are going to leave pretty angry. They might break something. Some that my biggest concern was they would go home and feel that they can't trust their own college, and they might take their own lives. I've lost 4 friends to suicides. I take it very, very personal. So I told them that. I wrote them an email, following talk to security. Security there that Friday. This they happened on Thursday. I talked to security on Friday morning. They agreed with me. Monday morning I sent Dr. Royce and 2 other individuals, Dr. Howard, Dr. Bryant. Dr. Bryant's over counseling. She's the one that sets up who you see. And I explained to them in one email what happened, why it bothered me, and what needs to happen. At the end of that, all I wanted was a policy change for where before they hand out a document to a counselor and say, just go take somebody, the counselor needs to know what they're about to get into. They need to know this. And the other was that I needed to actually speak to another counselor because I didn't get anything achieved from my initial visit. What I got was 2 emails back, one from Dr. Howell, one from Dr. Pine, both being pretty generic and being kind of just casting it aside. So I got pretty upset about that. My wife called them the next day, it's on Wednesday, and from the next, or she called them on Tuesday. Thursday, I got suspended from school for 2 weeks. And during that suspension, they required that I have this packet get filled out by a mental health provider stating my stability. That's pretty messed up to do to anybody. I wouldn't do that to anybody. They tried to tell me later that they felt it's the Christian thing to do, that when someone has an issue, that they pull them away from their classes and try to help them. That's not the Christian thing to do, is to pull them away and then cast them out and say, go get these paperwork. Because what you're doing is actually you're just looking at your legal end and what's covering you, not anything to do with Christianity. And that's not fair to do to anybody. I found out that they have done this to other students when other students have issues. That's terrible. These kids, I told them specifically, I'm not a child, I'm not 18, I'm 32. But if you have an 18-year-old that came in here, maybe they come from a rough home, and they're talking about suicide, and you just suspend them, you're asking them to go home and kill themselves. You're not taking them into a room and sitting them down and saying, tell me what's wrong. See how we can fix it. You're not doing anything like that. You're doing the direct opposite. So they suspended me. The VA luckily worked with me, and we got my paperwork together, and I resubmitted. They said once that paperwork is submitted, I would be allowed back in school, no more problems. That after the 2 weeks, on that Monday, I get another message from the same individual saying, hey, you need to come in and talk about your reintegration. I say, well, anytime they say you need to come back in and talk versus you just going back about your business, you're about to get ambushed. I've been ambushed a lot in my life. I already know these things. I'm pretty well adapted to it. So I knew what was going to happen. I go in there and they would have a new contract for me to sign. This one stating my reintegration process, that they wanted me at a minimum to seek counseling twice a month, that the Mississippi College would have access to view what's going on in those programs, that I would also be required to do another reevaluation at the end of the semester, and a new evaluation every single semester that I'm at college. On top of that, they wanted access to all my medical records at the VA to see exactly all my programs, everything I've been through, all these different things. And it was going to go directly to Dr. Bryant, the same individual that caused this whole problem to begin with, because she's the one that gave my paperwork to the individual. So I was pretty offended by that. On top of that, I was not allowed to be a part of any associations, attend any events, be a part of any school functions that did not have solely graded experience, meaning that I could only be in classes. Because I paid to go to the school, and I pay off the GI Bill. I don't come from a rich background. I do everything on my own. I have since I was 17, and that's just how I'll always continue. I take care of what I'm supposed to take care of. It's not, as far as business sense, appropriate for you to tell somebody that's purchasing a product from you that you can only have half the product even though they've already paid you up front. So, I went through an entire semester of that, and I was afraid of even saying anything because I had so much invested in being in class. I didn't want to be banned from school, permanent suspension or anything like that, because then that would just take away my entire semester. I get the GI Bill, and that's what helps me get through school. So that would have messed up a lot of things for me. My wife's a paramedic. Like I said, I'm not rich. I don't plan on being. I don't see it. If my background is going to either be a writer, there's no rich writers. That's just not how that field works. And for teachers, that's not how that field works either. So why they would think that it'd be prevalent for me, that is beyond me. So at the end of the semester, close to the end of the semester, because they took my job away also, it was a work study for the VA office there at Veterans Outreach. I get paid through my GI Bill for my hours of helping other veterans get their GI Bill benefits. I put that information into the computer, and I'm just an assistant for it. They took that job away from me. They told me that I couldn't participate in that as well. So I got the EEOC involved. My disability should not be a basis for what my job is taken from. So the EEOC has been going through an investigation from MC, and the only reason they said they actually finally met with me at the end of the semester is because I got a federal agency involved. They're right now mainly concerned with just getting rid of the EEOC complaint because it's a disability discrimination, and that's it. So they reinstated me because of this as a full student. I can actually go to football games and things now and be a part of the Veterans Association, which I'm a cabinet member of and one of the founding members of. So now I can actually participate. As far as the job, I re-signed the documents 2 weeks ago, and a few minutes after signing them, they brought it up to and said, "Are you going to be talking about this issue anymore?" I said, "Probably, and school doesn't start till August." They said, "Well, if you continue, then you can't, basically, we couldn't have you at this position anymore at a job. Couldn't hire you again." What they did is the entire semester they ran my contract out, so the EEOC then couldn't really fight with the contract not being there anymore. So they kind of duped them, I guess. And I didn't tell them at the time, but if they're going to hold a minimum wage job like that over my head, to be quiet, I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to be quiet. That's not fair to anybody. I have to thank a lot of the other veterans, the younger ones. The Veterans Association that we enacted, we base it off a mentorship type program. The cabinet of 6, 3 of them are going to be older veterans, and 3 of them are either going to be ROTC or new recruits, new individuals that just got into the military. So we're using that old military experience to teach the young ones on leadership skills. It would not be smart of me to drop that. I'll be an example to all the rest, not only for the mentorship issue, but as far as the school, that it'd be okay to do what they did to me, to anybody else, at any other time. So I'm not going to do that. It's very sad that they think that that's okay. They apologized to me, but I told them that they need to do it on a public level, and they didn't understand that. So that's what they didn't know in that last meeting, is I'd already talked to a reporter. The article was already written, and just a few days after our meeting, it came out. So instead of them saying, yes, we know we messed up, and these are the changes that we're trying to work for, they denied all connection with it. So it's all just a bunch of vagrant lies. It's not at all like that. They said that instead of me being suspended because they told me to my face that they saw me as a threat to myself or others, that there was some other reason. I don't know what other reason. I did a FERPA request for all my records to be released about a month ago, so in about 15 days I'll find out exactly if there is anything else that should be in those records. I have a feeling that they pulled a Hillary Clinton and deleted the records, but that's what you have to deal with politics and dealing with individuals that are trying to only cover their tracks. They've done nothing but dig a deeper and deeper hole the entire semester with me. And next semester, it's going to be a little bit different. I know that I'm going to already be seen as problematic on campus, and that doesn't bother me. What bothers me is getting their policy changed as soon as possible, because I don't want to be responsible for the next individual who goes up there and gets triggered and commits suicide. The day after they spoke to me about signing the paperwork and saying that if I talked, they would have to remove me from that job, my younger brother committed suicide, which is about a week and a half ago. The day after that, I had this surgery. So it is something, when I say it's personal, it is very personal. My brother wasn't military, and we weren't exceedingly close in this past couple of years because he's been in and out of trouble. But knowing that, and knowing that they're trying to tell me that policy change takes time. No, it doesn't. I've written policy. It literally doesn't take any time at all. If you're trying to use research for these policies, I can look that up in 20 minutes to a couple hours. I don't have it done in a couple days. It does not take months. And 22 veterans a day commit suicide. That's a huge issue. 23 if you can consider also that one active duty member commits suicide every single day. These are numbers when you look at less than 3% of the population has this type of suicide rate. We have problems. And nobody's wanting to address it. For a college that wants to say it's Christian-based, it wants to say a lot of things, I'm not seeing any action. I'm not seeing them do anything. I've heard them say we'll look at it. It takes time. It doesn't. And every day that they take their time, we lose more. They don't apparently care. I do. It bothers me. I don't want to lose any more of my friends. I don't want to have to bury. I told them in that very first meeting I didn't want to have to bury another person, and I already have. Is that fair? No. It's not fair to any of us. My brother was 25 years old. My other friends, early 30s, mid 20s, committed suicide. It's sad losing individuals like that. Those that I've been in combat with, spent a lot of time abroad. They've seen a lot of things and come home. Jimmy had 3 daughters. That's a friend of mine. He committed suicide last year, last November. No, last September actually. September. They buried him September 10th. On September 11th, I went to a synopsis at JSU, and they told me and every other civilian there that they could cure PTSD, that it was fixable. And I protested in December the VA. They don't understand that their quick shot remarks or their halfway attempts at fixing things are detrimental to individuals. If you say you can fix PTSD, you need to be a lot more specific to people saying, well, we can work on alcoholism, we can work on depression. But there's more encompassing issues that are all brought under PTSD as itself. You can't say, well, we can just fix it. Because everybody else, if somebody that's not in the mental health field, they say, oh, that's great. We have a cure. There's no cure. That's not how it works. You don't remove scars. You don't remove memories. That's how it is. You'll live on them for the rest of your life. We learn to deal with the issues and the things that we've seen, things that we've done. But it's something that's permanent. It's not going to go away. They have trauma recovery program at the VA. It's called TRP. I've been in there since 2007. Trauma recovery is long term. I mean, they deal with veterans. They check on them every couple months just to see how they've been doing, and it's a long-term process. That's the truth of what veterans actually go through, not these quick fixes.
Chairman, are you going back to MC this fall?
Yes.
Is there anything that any of us in here can do to help you or to help the situation at MC? I know my husband is an MC grad, go Choctaw, I mean, we've been there. Our whole family has all attended MC, and most of us have graduated from there. So this whole issue has really hurt us because our oldest son, who's a Marine, started school there, and he couldn't believe the way they were acting either. So, is there anything that any of us can do to help you or to help the veterans out there?
Actually, I want to hold a protest in about a month. I'm looking at a park that's across from the police station. It's right close to the actual school itself. I talked to Clinton, the mayor of Clinton, and he talked to the chief of police already. We've gotten a go-ahead. I just have to get a date and time set and people to show.
I hope Phil would be supportive since he is a retired
military person. He's a former Marine and retired general from the Army National Guard. And I served 7 years in the Army National Guard. We did talk in depth about the issue. he was concerned that even me bringing it up, that it was something to do with politics. And I told him, like I'll tell anybody, if this issue keeps getting worked into that, the supervisor is not near as big of an issue to me as suicide prevention.
You keep us informed then and let us know the date,
Oh, yeah.
because we are activists. We do show up at rallies and we would be happy to help you.
That sounds great. I'd like to have everybody. I don't know what all the small details will be. I've got to talk to them as far as that it's a small park, if there's enough parking there and things like that. The police department they haven't had a protest there in about 10 years, so they're extremely rusty on it, and they said they would probably mess up. So we're trying to have where it's as professionally done as possible. We're not going to have individuals trying to run on campus because we will get arrested if that's private property. Just keep everything as professional as possible. And even though we're not directly across from the campus and being able to yell at them, because it's also during the summer, there's not a lot of students that are even on campus to hear it. The objective is to be in front of the campus, to be at a broader view. If this college does this here locally, other colleges are doing it everywhere else. So that's people that are struggling and having issues nationally. And it has to be brought to that type of attention.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Did Georgia secure a permit for the
I've got the paperwork to do, we just have to find a date and time. I think it's going to be on probably a Friday afternoon. Yes, sir.
One, I want people to notice that the guy doesn't have PTSD written on his head and he's perfectly normal and everything. I've been diagnosed with PTSD my whole life, and it's just, it's not, in most cases, occasionally it'll manifest itself in a suicide or in an outlandish movement. But for the most part, they're normal people that function among you. And like he said, firemen, cops, doctors, all these people have PTSD. They see probably far more than we saw in our limited amount of combat. So that the PTSD thing is, as far as being a stigma on somebody, it's just undeserved. I mean, he's a perfect example. The guy's pretty level-headed, seems like. I guess that's maybe because all your hair's cut off. I don't
For the
know.
most part.
But my question is, this is a private Baptist-owned university, all right? What are they doing with Muslim students there in the first place? And how many? Because from what I understand, they have their own dedicated dormitory.
I'm not sure. I know that they do have their own, as far as the international building, we have a whole building we have a lot of other students from all over the world, a lot of Asian students. We have others, I can't remember what other country, but I know they have a contract with Saudi Arabia. Out of that, that's where a lot of, you're going to see those individuals that are going there for either, look like, as far as I know, they're in specific classes or specific jobs. I don't know any that are in the English department, as far as going for an English major.
See, that's what most of it is scheduled for, is merely to come over here to learn English.
Right.
And so they don't have to go to a
Well, I do know that a lot of those students, because some struggle with English language, are not getting exactly the support that the school has promised them as international students as well. They were told that they wouldn't have to take certain classes and that it would be a little easier. And then when they get here, MC has a strict guideline on you have to take these certain classes. You have to have Old Testament, New Testament, and you have to go to chapel. So some of the students,
How can they possibly do that?
they force it.
No, I don't mean
But as far as
MC,
the other
I'm saying, how can the
students-
student do that, without violating their Muslim faith? And that should be a big issue to
I
the
believe it's
Saudi
an issue to
people.
them.
They should have known that when they came to a Baptist school.
Right. But I think that there's some leeway, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't be able to confirm or deny any of it, but it's something to look into.
A lot of the students here are graduate students. They're getting a master's. Some are in the business program. We got a lot in education.
Are some of these women wearing full burqas with the slits?
Yeah.
I understood that was going on. And they are escorted by either their fathers or brothers?
I don't see a lot of that. I know they can't go places unless they get permission from their husbands.
What gets me is that when I first heard this story and I talked to his wife and we talked in depth and I talked to Jerry, what bothered me the most is that it's a Christian university. What are they doing to our pastors overseas? What are they doing to our fellow Christians overseas, decapitating us? And we have the gall to educate these people and spend money in the Saudi nationals or Pakistani nationals, wherever they're coming from, spending top dollar. So what that university is looking at, just like Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Southern, I don't care what college it is, you're looking at the money. So what you do is you walk in a fine line, because this man's got a GI Bill spending his money over there. So they're walking that fine line. We don't want to piss the veterans off, and we don't want to piss the Saudis off, because then they're not going to come to school here anymore. So let's make this guy the liar, they call him a bad student with a 3.2. I mean, they came out with every 3 different stories I read myself. I read some of them tomorrow. 3 different stories, and his story remained the same the whole time. So as a person reading stories, when people keep changing, I mean, somebody's lying on the other side, because his story has been consistent. That makes me angry to no end that a Christian university in Mississippi of all states is educating the enemy. That's basically what we're doing. He can't say that, but by God, I can say it. And that's why I'm not associated with some, Mississippi Wounded Warriors here in this state, even though I started, because there's certain things you can't say as part of an organization. But by God, if somebody calls me and wants to fight, by God, I'm going to be out there fighting. If I'm the last man standing.
They get full tuition from Chinese students, I know.
When
And I've seen
students
they
to
do what the
reform
others
theology
do.
seminary for housing because they didn't have enough room on campus to house them.
We can't solve that problem, but you have to.
The ones I know of, housing on campus, they're married. I don't know, some of the women are not married. I don't know what they do.
Are there any other questions?
I
Laura?
have a question. I want to know if the Saudi government has given any money to Mississippi College for the placement of their students.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure as far as what connection they have exactly to the country itself, or any other Islamic country.
Generally, it's one of the Saudi family that's doing it.
Right.
Like Prince Bandar, but back during the George Bush era, funded a lot of it. People look into this and you'll find there are 72,000 Saudi nationals in this country going to school just like this, all for the same reason, for the money. These schools need the money. They're strapped for the cash and they need the money. So,
Is there a Muslims?
The question is further that if they have done this, if they have received monies from Saudis to bring their students there, is there a contract that says that school has to provide Islamic studies within the school?
I don't believe so. I haven't seen any courseware that is specific to that. But that would be something that would be a good question for the administration. I know that as far as my issue with the school, the departments I belong to, English and education, I have zero issues with them. They've done a great job. It's solely the administration that I've had issues with. Individuals that I had never even met before this semester. They did not bother to talk to a single professor. During the integration process, they told me that they were concerned about my academics. I actually brought my academics up in certain ranges. So, and also they never spoke to me at any point until the very end of the semester. I actually got and that's because I have a federal entity investigating them. They're concerned about the EOC. The EOC isn't bombarding them either. There's some mediator that they deal with. This is not a process that they can probably, that they seem scared about for whatever reason. They also don't know that I have already asked for the paperwork to drop the claim because there is no actual, the contract doesn't exist. So there's not anything that I can follow through with it. As far as legal issues, there's not a lot that, for one, I wouldn't want to some extent, pursue. And also, many attorneys, if you're looking at dealing with this type of college, they have their own law schools. They're able to throw around their weight a lot harder. So even if another student that this comes up with, they tend to have a tactic of trying to sweep it under the rug and get it away from them as quickly as possible. They do not like media attention whatsoever, especially in the negative sense. They posted the video that they asked me to be in on YouTube in relation to my media scrutiny of them. That video just talks about them being a military friendly school. Their military friendliness isn't exactly friendly. It's part of a program. They didn't get polled to be military friendly. There was not a poll run that states, oh, that when you're in the top 50. It's kind of a stamp of approval type thing that we would probably get for the Tea Party saying this is paying admission fee for it. It's not something that, even though they like to tout it, that is very relevant. They didn't have all the veterans on campus get together and say, you know, write statements or do anything like that. And the video that they asked about, they called me last minute to be in it, which I don't have a problem with it. And I do like Mississippi College, and I still want to stay in the English department and the education department. But I think that they have their heart in the wrong places on some things, especially their administration. A lot of people have gotten mad at the Veterans Outreach Office lately and called and said things. Veterans Outreach has been behind me the entire time. That's the department I used to work for, or should work for, should be working for. And they supported me. It's solely the administration's position. That, well, I think, and also the counseling department, they really not helped at all.
Any other questions? All right. Well, you know where you stand, running as supervisor. How many are in District 3, Rankin County District 3? No one is in District 3?
What area is that?
That is Brandon all the way down to Puckett, as far as the southeast portion of Rankin County.
Who's currently serving in that position?
Greg Wilcox. He's going to be leaving that. He's running for chancellor clerk.
Who else is
So,
running
do
for
you
that
have any
position?
opponents?
My opponents are Bob Morrow, James Rutland, and I can't remember his last name. His first name, but his last name is Walker. So,
Okay. All right. Are there any other questions?
I will say some stuff about the supervisor's position itself. Many other individuals are running a financial campaign where they're going to put up a lot of signs. I have signs, and it's not an issue. But I'm not going to spend, or I don't ask for any donations whatsoever to run my campaign. So it's always zero to because what I pay for my signs amount, that's it. And I'm not going to spend $30,000, $40,000 on promotional efforts. Spend someone's entire yearly salary for a supervisor's position that's part-time gig. That's ludicrous. And I'm kind of offended at Mississippi politics in itself. We were rated the #1 corrupt in politics in the United States.
Look at the actors. Look at the players.
I was trying to be a game warden a couple of years ago before I got my associates completed. You have to have an associates, and then you have to have a background you comply. I was told, so I had a friend that retired from game warding, he said that I needed to spend $2,000 to this congressional congressman, and he'd make sure I'm on the list, and that's the kind of the process that goes around to become a game warden. And I said, well, if it's not based off your merits and your character, I don't want to work there. If our government positions are so ingrained like that, there's no wonder we have issues with being labeled as being corrupt. If that's what we're basing things off of. Also, with politics, if you look at the newspaper, every couple weeks, you'll have a embezzlement case that's for one county clerk, and it basically goes in like a chain around the state. There's almost every single month, you'll hear of at least one county that's embezzling some kind of money from something. And it's almost epidemic, and we've gotten to a complacency issue where we accept it, and we know it's going to happen. We vote in our supervisors. The rest of the staff isn't voted in. We might need to look at that. There's some issues there. If it becomes so prevalent that we're okay with it well, here in Warren County did this month, next will be Hines, and they'll just follow that chain. It's been going that way for 20, 30, 40 years. We've got problems. We've got a lot of problems. The key issues that belong to this state, or top issue that I believe is our education. Secondary is the corruption issues that take away from all of our funding, all of our money. Our roads, I've literally seen better roads in Baghdad that have bomb holes in them. If you compare this county to other counties or other states and other areas with better roads, better infrastructure, we're pretty sad. If you live here and you never go anywhere, you would never know that. You would think, oh, we've got ways to get to and fro. That's not the case. We've got terrible ways of getting to and fro. We're not looking 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the road in anticipation of population growth. Brandon itself is one of the highest in population growth in the United States, well, in this state and also in the United States as far as the speed of it. Even that during the recession. That shows something. That doesn't show that we're bringing better jobs. This is also a huge issue. But we've got to anticipate the traffic of all these people 20 years from now, not tomorrow, not next year, nothing like that. It needs to be very far down the road because that's how long the roads have to be able to withstand it. It's pretty sad if you look at the population and what we have. Like I live down 18. 18 needs to be dual laned. At minimum, it needs some safety changes. There needs to be off-roads that allow a turn, especially in the Robin Hood area. There's a lot of accidents. If you're a firefighter or a police officer, you're seeing these accidents all the time on areas that have been there for 40 years, and they've constantly had these wrecks over and over. Trends follow trends, and we need to break those trends by changing that infrastructure, what's around there. They're just now getting the overpass right there on the 80 that gets on the 20 changed. Even though they've had countless amount of wrecks of people trying to get on 20 right there at Taco Bell. They're just now getting that. That's state level and federal level as far as infrastructure.